Everything is possible, you know, when you believe. That's the kind of kicker. You have to believe. But it's not that hard. It's really pretty easy. Our belief creates our entire life experience. And so you can't, if I put it this way, you can't experience anything in life that is outside of your own beliefs. So, and that's the case for every single one of us. We really can't experience anything that's outside of our beliefs. If we can't experience anything that's outside of our beliefs, what that means is, look at all those hearts, that's so beautiful. What that means is there's not really one world. We kind of think there's one world, but there isn't really, because we're all experiencing a world based on our beliefs, and not one of us has the same beliefs, not one of us. So that means there's a different world for every one of us. So all of your beliefs are held in your subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind is just a part of your mind. There's the conscious mind, and then there's the subconscious mind, which is actually higher than the conscious mind. And so we use our conscious mind with all of the thoughts and everything that we have. Our conscious mind is very present, right? And so to create anything, you are using your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is really what creates. If I want to make it really, really simple, then I would say your subconscious mind is what creates. It makes things appear and manifests things. And that's where all of your beliefs are stored. Kind of neat, huh? Because you have to believe to manifest something, and your subconscious mind creates everything. So you can see it's all kind of perfectly designed. So now to manifest, you have to believe. And you have to believe that you already have whatever it is that you want. And the reason that you have to believe you have it already is because the subconscious mind is only operating in the present. It can't reason. It's just like a program. So if you say, for example, a new car is coming, my new car is coming, I'm going to get a new car, it's coming. Well, then it's always going to be coming, right? That's the thing. You have to imagine you have it now. You have to go off and you have to test drive the car. You've got to feel the car, smell the car, and just then visualize being in that car. And then when you do that, that's how, if you do that enough, that's how you'll come to believe that you actually have the car. And the moment that you believe, there's manifestations instantaneous. So the other ways to believe is to affirm over and over and over. So to be really repetitive, for example, to visualize. And visualizing is incredibly powerful, because when we close our eyes and we put ourselves in the picture, and you must make sure you're in the picture, and you put yourself in the picture with whatever it is that you want, and you close your eyes and you just kind of create this mini movie. Honestly, the subconscious mind does not know that you're imagining it, has no idea. It just sees that movie and recreates it. It's like a giant photocopying machine. It will just, whatever you hold in your mind, it will photocopy it, boom, into the world. So if you are thinking about something in the future, it's always going to be in the future. So you have to imagine that you have it now. You have to act as if. And for example, if you wanted to attract a perfect partner, are you acting as if your perfect partner's here already? And so there are just small things that you can do that are super, super powerful. For example, are you sleeping in the middle of your bed, or are you sleeping on one side of the bed because your partner's on the other side of the bed? Do you have room in your wardrobe for your perfect partner's clothes? Is there room in your bathroom for their toothbrush and for their things? And so you see, they are just little things. You can set the table for two. You don't have to put food on the plate, but just setting the table for two is really, really powerful. It's saying my perfect partner's here already, and the subconscious mind will believe it, and your perfect partner will be attracted to you through the most incredible circumstances. So if something hasn't manifested yet and you really, really want it, and I doubt there's anybody out there who wants something and it hasn't manifested, right? I mean, I'll tell you the reason why it hasn't manifested is because you don't believe you have. Welcoming practice sounds counterintuitive, that you would welcome something, right, that you don't want. It's like, whoa, hang on a minute. That doesn't make any sense. It does when I explain this to you, is that when something that we don't want appears, we resist it. And if you remember in The Secret, what you resist persists. And so if you're resisting something you don't want, it will never go away. Welcoming is the opposite to resisting. Welcoming stops you from resisting. That's why it's so brilliant. Because resistance is not fab, really. But even that idea of resistance not being fab is something to welcome. That thought is something to welcome. And just welcome that thought, and then that thought will completely dissolve instead of building up inside of you and the mind saying, yeah, resistance isn't any good. Yeah, the mind adding a whole lot of other thoughts. So that's a perfect example of welcoming. Now, what I did just then, because I've welcomed for the last 4 years, what I did just then, I felt it completely dissolve in my chest, that thought. The feeling that was behind that thought just completely dissolved, and now that is gone. So it's that easy.
How do we break that negative thought pattern?
Right. So the mind is like a computer program. So, and the fact that it's on a negative loop is because we programmed it on a negative loop. But we could have been influenced when we were children and things like that. So one of the things that the mind loves repetition. I mean, it loves it. If you really watch your thoughts, this is the same old thoughts over and over again, it's just kind of dishing up the same old thing. So it loves repetition. So the way you can override a program is to put in the opposite, and when you start out, you feel like you're lying, you'll say something like, you might be really broke. Gee, I was when I was making The Secret. So you might not have any money and you're trying to instill, wealth and prosperity and riches. And every time you say it, you feel a contraction in your body because you don't have it. But, truly, because I did it myself, after a while you change it. You really begin to change it. And you don't quite have that contraction anymore. And then you start to see money coming in, in different ways. Or you can be given things that you were going to buy and now you don't have to buy it. Or so you start to see signs of land, is one of the great new thought writers would say, talk about a sign of land. So you start to see sign of land. Now, that's what I did in The Secret. You can do gratitude. That will turn everything around. That will make you feel good. That will get you off the negative rant. But those negative thoughts are coming from beliefs held in the subconscious mind, right? That's
where do the beliefs stem from for most of us?
They stem mostly from our childhood, conditioning. Yeah. Our parents said something to us. We just swallowed it, hook, line, and sinker. We're like, right, that's a belief. And so we take it in and then we have all these beliefs that and you can hear, if you're talking to somebody, like if somebody says, oh, I believe da 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 da, or because we say that all the time, or somebody says, I think da 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 da. Behind those two statements are going to be a belief. And so the really interesting thing, they're hard to spot because you believe they're true.
They seem real, right? Yeah. They seem real.
You don't think they're a belief. You think they're real, and so they can be hard to spot. But if you start to listen to yourself, I believe, or I think, or especially look at the things that you have a really strong opinion about. Because where you have a really strong opinion is a belief that's underneath that. So one of the things that in the latest book is that I show how to dissolve those beliefs, and just really by some of the things that I've just mentioned, and you can dissolve them, and you just feel free every time a belief goes out, you feel completely free. You know, it's amazing, amazing feeling. You just feel as light as a feather, and actually you feel invincible with all of those thoughts that are jumping around everywhere. And this takes a little bit of practice, right? Because what might happen is, let's think of some situation. You're at work and your boss kind of gets into you about something, and that's usually when the monkey mind appears, right? When you're upset, and then it's just like, great, got all this energy, I'm going to go crazy. Boss always picks on me, boss does this, that. And so when you have a situation like that, where the mind is doing that, just notice the mind. Just notice it. The minute that you notice it, you are no longer believing it, and your mind is going into the background. If you would just notice those thoughts instead of believing those thoughts. So if your boss beeps you out, and then you start to have all of those thoughts, and you know what, you might be 2 hours later, you might be the next morning, and you've still got all the thoughts coming, and then you suddenly notice the thoughts. That is fantastic that you've remembered, because that noticing disempowers the mind. The more that you can notice and not identify with those thoughts that you don't want, the weaker and weaker the mind will get, the negativity in the mind. And soon it's just going to be like a little lamb that you can use for whatever you want, because that's the only reason why we created the mind. We created the mind this is my teacher told me this, and I love it. We created the mind for one reason, to manifest what we want on earth. That's why we've got it. It's not our psychologist. It doesn't know anything about psychology. It's not our psychiatrist. It doesn't know anything. It doesn't know anything about your mum. It doesn't know anything about your best friend or your boss. So just keep it in its right category, and then you will start to lessen the impact of your mind, and that monkey mind will start to get quieter and quieter.